Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Caden Kubler Sports Radio on KCAA 1050 AM and 106.5 FM. I'm your host, Caden Kubler. Boy, does it feel good to be back. And not only am I back, but football has returned, and I'm counting down the days until the regular season is here. All 32 teams in the NFL are back at camp as we had this Hall of Fame game this past Thursday. In college football, fall practice has officially begun, and we're only 3 weeks away from the first game. Football is back in full effect, and we've got a jam-packed show for you guys today with the return of old head versus newcomer, official NFL playoff predictions, and a bold NFC take that will make the fans of LA very, very excited. I've got all that and more here at 8 a.m. You know I'm bringing that energy. So grab your orange juice and bacon. This is Caden Kubler Sports Radio every Saturday morning from 8 to 9 a.m. talking all things sports and counting you guys down for the football season. Ladies and gentlemen, with football right around the corner, it is time to reintroduce my favorite segment on Caden Kubler Sports Radio. We've been doing this now for 3 years. It's always the way I kick off my show, whether it's during the NBA season, whether it's during the NFL season, college football, etc. The Yap of the Week is my favorite way to start the show. That is when I find my hottest topic in the sports world and break it down for you guys in the first 5 to 8 minutes of the show. And I'm going to try something new this week. We also have a segment on Caden Kubler Sports Radio called California Love, but I think it's fitting to merge the two this week for our brand new season of Caden Kubler Sports Radio. To start the football season, we're going to combine the Yap of the Week and California Love because we're going to be talking about the Los Angeles Rams, and we're going to be talking about how great this team can truly be for this upcoming year. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that this is a team that can win the Super Bowl this year. And I don't know if I would have been saying that 2 years ago when Aaron Donald retired, when this defense had a lot of question marks. What did Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp's future in Los Angeles look like? And we've got a little more answers on those two, and especially on this defense. But I believe that this team is capable of beating the Philadelphia Eagles. No other team even came close last year, even the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And every year when you have a Super Bowl champion, you have to look at how do you stack up against them realistically, whether it was the Boston Celtics in the NBA, how do the Oklahoma City Thunder stack up against them? This year, I'm looking at the Philadelphia Eagles. How do you stack up against them if you're the Los Angeles Rams? How do you stack up against the Kansas City Chiefs over the last few years? The Eagles destroyed them in the Super Bowl. The Eagles now set the bar. You've got to go get over them. And you look at that postseason run, it was dominance. It was pure dominance from the Philadelphia Eagles. But there was one team throughout that run that was a block away of Jalen Carter up the middle from winning that on the final drive of the game, and that was the Los Angeles Rams. They came eerily close to beating the Philadelphia Eagles in the divisional round. They ultimately came up short. Saquon Barkley was just a thorn in their side really all season long, from the regular season game that they had early on in the year where he just ran all over them. And then he did the same exact thing in the divisional round, and he was just unbelievable. He really was unbelievable, and the Rams are going to have to be better at stopping the run if they want to try and beat the Philadelphia Eagles. But let's recap kind of this offseason. Let's talk about what this team can do for this upcoming year, because I'm very optimistic about the Los Angeles Rams. This was an eventful offseason for the Rams. First of all, they parted ways with Cooper Kupp. I feel that his time almost ran thin with the team. The injuries that he had over the last few years, it wasn't working, and they made a significant upgrade once he ultimately left. He hadn't cracked 1,000 yards in 3 consecutive seasons. It was time for the Los Angeles Rams to make a move off of Cooper Kupp, and that's exactly what they did. And they went out and got Davante Adams after getting rid of Cooper Kupp. I absolutely love this move for the Rams. Are you kidding me? You have Puka Nacua, who's already a top 10 receiver in the league. You have Kyron Williams, who's arguably a top 10 back in the league. He's an explosive running back. You have Matthew Stafford, who, in my opinion, can be a top 3 quarterback in the NFC. He could be the best quarterback in the NFC when he's healthy, playing his game even at his older age. Sean McVay, one of the best head coaches in the NFL, and now you're adding Davante Adams to make this offense even more lethal. That absolutely terrifies me. This offense was tremendous last year, and they were so banged up. They were 1-4 to start the year. The O-line was banged up. Cooper Kupp missed some time. Puka Nacua was injured. Matthew Stafford was banged up. Everybody was injured, it seemed like. Now you're getting Devontae Adams, a guy that you know can easily get you 1,000 yards, a guy that can easily be a elite route runner for this team. And I love the thought of him in this Sean McVay offense with Los Angeles. I think that they are going to be so great offensively, but they've got to be better defensively. They really do. They have to be better defensively. And they surprised me with how good they were on that side of the ball last year. I thought that they were just going to be so terrible. I didn't know what that team was going to look like in terms of the loss of Aaron Donald, but they answered a lot of questions. Classic Les Snead being one of the best general managers in the NFL, drafting just at a ridiculous rate, and he killed it in the NFL draft last year. This team is built not only to win now, but they are built to win in the future, which is a very fortunate spot for them to be in. Of course, you've got maybe a 1 to 2 year cap life on Matthew Stafford, and then you've got to start looking at the quarterback position. But this team is built to win in the future as well as right now. And that is because they did a tremendous job in the draft of going after two tremendous defensive linemen, one in Braden Fisk out of Florida State, and then in Jared Verse of Florida State as well. Two guys that were neck and neck for that defensive rookie of the year last year. And ultimately Jared Verse pulled it out because he just had a really special end to the year. He had a great postseason as well. He's a guy that is already in the top 5 in terms of odds for the Defensive Player of the Year award, which is absolutely insane considering he's only going into his second year. That's the type of juice, the type of burst that he has off the edge. And he's going to be huge for this Rams defense. But it's not just about the pass rush. It's about stopping the run. It's about the front seven. It's about the linebackers coming up and helping to make plays and plug gaps when Saquon Barkley is just eviscerating this defense. That's really what it's going to come down to, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to come down to this front seven being elite, this defense stepping up when they're called on, because this offense can compete with some of the best of them in the NFL. They really can. I believe in Matthew Stafford. I believe in every single guy on this team. And of course, Sean McVay. He's one of the best head coaches in the NFL. He's been in this position so many times. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's had so much postseason success. And he's a guy that when I look across all the coaches in the NFC, I don't think there are too many I would have over him. Maybe Kyle Shanahan, but Sean McVay has the Super Bowl. I look across all the other coaches. I love Dan Campbell, but I've got to take Sean McVay. Nick Sirianni, yes, he's a two-time Super Bowl champion, but in my mind, I'm still going Sean McVay. I would take him over every other coach in the NFC as of right now, and maybe even in the NFL outside of Andy Reid. He's that good. He's that tremendous. And I think that we're going to see a lot of playoff success from this Rams team this year as well. That's also not to mention, what did they land on in the draft? Did they hit anything massive like Terrence Ferguson at the tight end position out of Oregon? What can he do to help this offense out? I mean, I'll give a cool little story here before we kind of wrap it up. So when I was in 7th grade in middle school, my school was doing a career fair, and we had Les Snead, the Rams general manager, come, and they had a few reporters and stuff there. And we were all sitting down on this field, and they were like, okay, does anyone want to be a sports reporter when they grow up? And I raised my hand and I said, okay, Les Snead, who on your team is going to be the best player that you drafted? And this was in 2017, and they drafted Cooper Kupp in the 3rd round, and he said it was going to be Cooper Kupp. This team has been so tremendous at drafting players in the draft, later on, whatever. I believe in Les Snead, and I believe in his ability to hit in the draft. Maybe you have a guy like Ty Hamilton out of Ohio State who can really help shore up this front seven. Chris Paul Jr. out of Ole Miss that can help shore up this front seven. Two guys that are both taken in the fifth round. You just never know with Les Snead and this Rams team. I'm very optimistic about them. I believe that they can beat the Philadelphia Eagles. I believe they can win the Super Bowl. They are the best equipped to take down the Eagles this year. I love the Los Angeles Rams, ladies and gentlemen, for this upcoming season. This week's segment of Old Head and Newcomer is brought to you by Allendale's Men's Clothing. This isn't just another store with racks of clothing leaving you to figure it out on your own. Allendale's teaches men how to dress for whatever occasion is ahead. This is quality clothing and personal experience all in one. It's time to make that styling upgrade that you won't regret. Visit Allendale's Men's Clothing in downtown Culver City or find them online today at www.allendales.com.
Old head, newcomer.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with episode 1, year 3 already, which is crazy to say, but we are back with the first episode of a very long football season that we are excited about. We've got the off season, only a few more weeks to go as we get into week 1 of the college football season, week 1 of the NFL season. It's going to be our biggest one yet. I cannot wait. Gentlemen, without further ado, how you guys doing?
Tremendous.
Good.
Let's hop right into it. This is going to be this. I already know that this one's going to deliver. There are always huge storylines coming into every NFL season, but arguably the biggest one of them all is around the Chicago Bears. They've had quite the offseason to build around their former first overall pick in Caleb Williams. They hired offensive mastermind Ben Johnson to be their new head coach and shored up this offensive line. With all of the pieces in place for Caleb to thrive, newcomer, what are your expectations for him and this Bears team this season?
Well, I have pretty big expectations for him because you have to consider that Caleb Williams is the LeBron James of the NFL. We've never seen someone with this talent level and this hype enter the league. And he really is a generational talent and prospect. And I think when people say that he had a bad rookie season, I think they're completely missing the point. I think he actually had a great rookie season and he thrived in some big moments, but the coaching just wasn't there and the rest of the team wasn't there. Now I think the rest of that team is up to the standard of Caleb Williams. You look at their offense now. So you look obviously Caleb Williams. You still have Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, DeAndre Swift, Colston Loveland, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet. Like this could be a really explosive offense. And last year the defense actually looked pretty good for the Bears. So if that defense stays solid and you throw in, I think Roma Dunze kind of had an underwhelming rookie season. I think he's going to progress. I think Caleb Williams is going to make some more strides with this offense with Ben Johnson. And I think a clear-cut expectation that I have for Caleb Williams and this team, they need to make the playoffs this year. I mean, it's pretty simple. I think in his progression, this guy's going to be a great quarterback in this league, but they need to make the playoffs this year, and it's going to be tough. I mean, they're in a tough division, but I really think they can, and I think Caleb Williams might win a playoff game this year.
Oh my gosh. Oh, goodness gracious. I don't even know how to respond to that. Wow. What's your relationship with Caleb Williams? I mean, holy cow. This guy, we must not have been watching the same season last year. Caleb is a little like LeBron in certain ways, primarily entitlement. I think, too, he's got a little bit, I'd say he's more of a combo of the Zion LeBron combo of the NBA. But I think if you just boil it down to one of your, it was a quality comment that would do great on Sunset Strip on the comedy club, which would you can't put Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels last year in the same sentence. And if you're going into last year, other than Uberflus or whatever the guy's name was,
Matt Eberflus.
Yeah, and you had a questionable coach at Washington going into the year, and you had questionable coach at Chicago. You look at Jaden Daniels and you look at Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams was set up to have a much better year with his talent than Washington. Jaden Daniels showed you why a guy like that is better. So I appreciate that you want to bulk those two together. You're better off bulking him with a Zion. And I'm not going to go down this wild path on the very first answer, but my short answer to the question is Chicago will be last place of that division. They will not make the playoffs. And I've got a lot of other opinions I'll say throughout the year, but I'm not a Chicago hater. I've been to a Bears playoff game. It's a riot. Ugly stadium. I mean, they tried to just absolutely renovate a
All right.
classic look.
Short answer.
But
Then we start
but
from
yeah,
the top.
I'm done with that answer. So newcomer, thank you though. I did burn some calories and got a good chuckle right off the rip.
Well, I'm starting it off with a bang here, and I'm actually agreeing with the old head, which I never thought I'd be saying this early on in the season. It's nothing against the Chicago Bears, and it's not like I don't expect them to improve from a team that only won 5 games last year, because I absolutely do. I've been very vocal about how I feel about Caleb Williams. I think he's going to have a great career in the NFL, but in year two, I just don't know what realistically we're going to see from this Chicago team. Yes, the offensive line is better. They've got some good weapons. Lost Keenan Allen. You still got DJ Moore, Odunze. They drafted Luther Burden. DeAndre Swift's a nice little piece in that backfield. But I'm just looking at this division. I'm looking at a team like the Detroit Lions, who won 15 games last year. That's a lot to get over. The Minnesota Vikings won 14 games last year. And then you have the Green Bay Packers, who won 11 games. All three teams in front of them are bona fide playoff teams. And the Chicago Bears are going to have to try and crack into that top three if they want any chance. It's 110% the toughest division in football. How you crack through that is so tough. I think Caleb Williams is going to have a lot better season. I think Chicago can win 8 or 9 games, but realistically, saying that they can win 11 or 12 games, because that's what it's going to take in a brutal NFC conference to make the playoffs, I just don't see it from this Bears team. Now, it's not to say that in year 3, year 4, they can't do it. I think Ben Johnson is this great offensive mastermind that can really get Caleb Williams in the right situation, but look at the quarterbacks. Look at the teams in that division. Jared Goff and this brilliant offensive line and brilliant offense. They had so many injuries last year defensively, and they still won 15 games. You have the first ever week 18 game with two 14-win teams going into that potential number 1 seed and then 5th seed game. Like, so many implications. This division is just so brutal. I think Chicago will ultimately end up last and will win about 8 or 9 games, but I just do not think that this team is realistically a playoff contender with how brutal this division is. But there's a lot of conversation around these second-year quarterbacks that are in line to have huge seasons. Obviously, Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix stood above and beyond all of them last year, but Caleb's in a position to thrive with this upgraded situation. JJ McCarthy of the Minnesota Vikings is now healthy and has one of the best receiving cores in the league. Michael Penix Jr. of the Atlanta Falcons showed some great flashes at the end of last season, and Drake May of the New England Patriots got a new O-line, new coach, and some upgraded weapons. Old head, this one's for you. Which year 2 quarterback, in your opinion, takes the biggest leap this season?
Which is going to be pretty amazing because he already had a really good leap, but 100% Bo Nix. Bo Nix is set up to be direct shot of a. This is going to be a wild take here because I don't know if he'll get Super Bowls like this, but he's a Drew Brees work guy that feels slighted a little bit, mixed with a little bit of a Tom Brady winning mindset. Like I was never a big fan of his in college when he left Auburn and went to Oregon. But again, me not being a fan of the coach of Denver, me not even being a Broncos fan at all, I will say this: that Bo Nix has got some fire in his eyes that I haven't seen in a young quarterback in a long time. Jaden Daniels is a little bit different type of a leader. Bo Nix is going to be a premier quarterback in the league. He showed it last year. I think that Drake May will do a little better than Caleb Williams. Caleb's at the bottom of that list. Drake May is second to the bottom. JJ McCarthy, love his meditation techniques. You guys should get into it. I think he's probably pretty spiritually grounded. Unfortunately, that doesn't do crap for him in the NFL on game day, other than get him calm after getting his head wrong. I don't think he will thrive. He will be a good long-term starter in the league, but I think that Bo Nix 100% hands down. Jaden Daniels is already great, but Bo Nix will be doing terrific. And yeah, no, I don't think those other young guys, they're just going to get caught up in the NFL whipsaw, and the other dudes won't be playing much 3-4 years from now. So there's my take.
Um, I think one thing that I'm going to absolutely agree with the old head here. I think we're both in agreement that JJ McCarthy is just so overrated. And in my opinion, I think really JJ McCarthy's not going to last more than 2 years playing in the NFL. He's severely overrated. I think if I had to compare him to a previous NFL quarterback, it would be Josh Rosen, just because of the significant overhype and just he's not going to live up to the expectations. But if we're looking at these other quarterbacks, obviously based off my previous answer, I think Caleb Williams is going to have the biggest stride in terms of his sophomore year. But I'm not going to spend another answer talking about the same thing over and over again. I think another quarterback, and I obviously think Drake. I disagree with the old head on Drake May also, but I think one quarterback that not a lot of people are talking about, and really it's because he's going to be going into this year not really with the mentality of a second year quarterback. And I think it's Michael Penix. Towards the end of last year, in some of those games at the end of the season, he did not look like a rookie quarterback. He really looked like a
Well, it's
seasoned
because he's
NFL.
30.
It's
I,
not
I, under,
30.
I understand that he's a little bit older, but he has that maturity. He has that poise. And I think if you look at that Falcons offense, you look at the strides that Kyle Pitts can continue to make. You look at Bijan Robinson, you look at Drake London, you look at, even some of their other pieces, Ray McLeod, and how this offense can be built around Michael
Right.
Penix to have a full season of success. Um, I think Michael Penix is going to make some major strides this year. I think he's kind of been counted out, and I think he's a very, very talented quarterback. You can look back at his time at Washington, and I think both him and Roma Dunze, who I loved in college, I think they're both going to make major strides for their team this year. And I think the Falcons can legitimately also make the playoffs, and you could see Caleb Williams and Michael Penix both in the playoffs this year. I think he's going to make major strides.
It's a good answer. I don't know how this turned into a JJ McCarthy hit piece, but this has been my dog all off season. This has been the guy that I've been hyping up, putting into this situation where I think he can lead the Minnesota Vikings to a 12, 13 win season back into the playoffs. You have to look at the structure that's in place for JJ McCarthy in Minnesota. First of all, Kevin O'Connell might be the best offensive coach in football right next to Andy Reid. He has been absolutely brilliant. He's made probably the best scheme in football for quarterbacks. You look at Sam Darnold last year with the complete revitalization he had in his career. We've seen it with Kirk Cousins. We've seen it with other guys in the past. I think Kevin O'Connell is a guy that is very quarterback friendly. He handpicked JJ McCarthy in the draft 2 years ago. He had that knee injury, so we didn't get to see any of JJ last year. But guess what? It's fully his team. Nobody's behind him. This is JJ McCarthy's year. And you've got the best receiver in football, arguably, in Justin Jefferson. You have a top 5 number 2 in football in Jordan Addison. Aaron Jones is still a beast. This is a tremendous offensive line. You've got a great defense on the other side, led by Brian Flores, who's going to get you a lot of turnovers. This is probably the best system for any of those quarterbacks that we're looking at across these year 2 stretches. Look at Jaden Daniels. Yes, Washington now is Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin. We get that. Chicago now is Ben Johnson, some of these weapons. I think in terms of situations, it's hard to say that Minnesota isn't the best out of all of these other situations. JJ McCarthy is a wildly talented arm. We didn't get to see any of it last year. I don't see why he can't go out there and be a tremendous quarterback and put himself into that top half cube of QBs in the NFL. I think this Minnesota team makes the postseason, and that's just what Kevin O'Connell does. I believe JJ McCarthy is going to take that biggest leap in year 2. Let's switch over to the AFC here. The consensus top 3 teams have been and will be the Chiefs, Ravens, and Bills, but it seems like there are a few teams on the cusp of making it into that top tier bubble. Newcomer, what team in the AFC throws its hat in the ring and enters into that top tier?
I think we already saw the start of this last year, and the old head kind of touched on it in one of his previous answers, but I think the Denver Broncos can be really good this year and throw their hat into the ring of elite AFC teams. I mean, they legitimately have one of the best defenses in the NFL. then you look at how good Bo Nix has been and a young offense that's going to continue to evolve. I'll keep this short. I think the Broncos are the next team up. Obviously, you have that elite three, and I know you guys are going to gravitate towards the Cincinnati Bengals, but I think just with the contract issues, with some of those issues with the defense, they just kind of want to, the owner, you might throw him in that same category as Jerry Jones. He wants to sit up there in his box and pay two or three guys and forget about the rest of the team, and I think it's a big mistake. I think the Broncos are the next best team.
These AFC conversations are off the chain. Um, Cincinnati, Baltimore, AFC Championship makes the whole year kind of boring because that's just kind of is going to be what it is. I think Denver is in the playoffs. Chargers are in the playoffs. Kansas City misses the playoffs. Oakland could be on the bubble. I'm kind of liking them now with Pete Carroll.
The worst
Uh,
team in the division.
I mean, so we need to chart all this stuff this year because generally my stuff comes out like way far further ahead proportionally than your guys' 7-Eleven bill. So anyway, other conferences that could be in the mix.
So hold on here. You didn't even answer the question though. So can we answer the question, the matter at hand? What team is going to throw their hat in the ring in the top three teams in the AFC?
Yeah, Cincy.
Okay. Well, you got to say that. You just said Cincinnati, Baltimore, AFC Championship. You got to clarify.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
Cincinnati.
if that's the top two teams
I just
and one
got
of the other teams is already in there, what do you do?
Hey, we're in 2025. I can't assume anything nowadays. You know what I'm saying? So
Oh,
we'll
okay.
see about Cincinnati. I think Joe Burrow is going to win the MVP this year, and I think the Cincinnati team is going to be good. But the holdouts of Trey Hendrickson and Shamar Stewart, to your point, newcomer, they're definitely worrying me a little bit. I'm looking at the Houston Texans right now, led by one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL that doesn't get enough press, doesn't get enough love. The situation last year for Houston was, and I don't want to get explicit here, it was just flat out terrible. I think you look at the situation that they had to deal with what CJ Stroud had to deal with, losing all of his wide receivers, one of the worst offensive lines in football. The fact that they went 10-7 and won a playoff game is flat out ridiculous. CJ Stroud now heading into year three is one of six quarterbacks in the NFL, in NFL history, that has won a playoff game in each of his first two seasons. That's the greatness we're looking at with CJ Stroud. And I think now, with a very improved offensive line, they made some huge additions. Cam Robinson, Laken Tomlinson, some big time additions for this Texans team on that offensive line. He's going to be protected. I look at now Tank Dell, hopefully coming back in the mix later in the year, but they grabbed two great wide receivers in the draft, and Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. They added Christian Kirk. Nico Collins is still there. This is an improved offense. This is an improved offensive line. This is an improved receiving core. Joe Mixon was tremendous last year. This is an insane defense. I think that the Houston Texans will play in the AFC Championship. CJ Stroud is going to play like an MVP, and he's going to remind the world how great he truly is. It's time for kind of leaving the floor open. Old head, to your point earlier, we're going to start tracking some of these takes. We're going to start tracking some bold takes in specific as well. This is what we're going to kind of jot down here. The floor is open. Newcomer, you first. What is your boldest take of the NFL season? And this will be brought up at the end of the year. So let's see what you got.
I think Caleb Williams is a top 5 player in the NFL this year.
Okay. So he kind of took mine, but kind of not. Chicago Bears fans are insane. That guy has no psychological control. Caleb Williams will ride the bench by week 7
Dude,
and will not play the rest of the year. Now let me finish. Like you guys, let me finish. However, the only way he doesn't ride the bench is like a lot of these young dudes when they start feeling like the fire's hot, they fake an injury. So Caleb Williams by week 7 will either have an ongoing injury that he's going to limp around or keep him out, or he's going to be riding the bench. And I'm going to give you a part 2 one. I'll give you guys 2. Jared Goff will be in the final running with Joe Burrow for MVP.
Okay, that's good.
And they're going to be neck and neck on the most touchdowns passed.
All right. My boldest take of the NFL season is that the San Francisco 49ers bounce back and win the most games in the NFL this year. I understand that everybody's written them off because of how injury prone they were last year, but let's not forget this team was in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. I think Brock Purdy is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. They have the easiest schedule in the league. I know everybody's going to be coming for my head right now. Look at this team's schedule and tell me that with everybody healthy, with Ayuk in the mix, with Kittle in the mix, with Purdy, with McCaffrey back, this team's going to win a lot of football games. I think they're a lot more talented than everybody else gives them credit for. I think they win 14 games this season and win the most games in the NFC, if not the most games in the NFL. That's my hottest take of this year's NFL season. We will revisit all of these takes. Gentlemen, always such a blast and pleasure to have you on. We've got a long season ahead of us, so keep bringing that spice, keep bringing that energy, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Thank you, man.
Thank you guys very much. Do me a favor, stay away from 7-Eleven all season. That's all I ask.
I can feel it in the air, ladies and gentlemen. It feels like football is getting closer and closer. We had the Hall of Fame game last Thursday night. We have week 0 of the college football season only a few weeks away. And I'm literally counting the days until the NFL season is here. And we're only 33 days away. I cannot wait. We get Cowboys, Eagles to kick off the season on Thursday. And then in Brazil, we have the Chiefs versus the Chargers, which should be an awesome game. And then on Sunday, we have our first Sunday, beautiful Sunday slate of the entire year where we have some great games. We get the Lions, Packers, Rams, Texans on Sunday Night Football, the Bills, Ravens, a great playoff matchup from last year. And then on Monday Night Football, we get to watch the Bears versus Vikings. Football is so close to being back. I cannot wait. We have a beautiful season of football that we're going to talk about for 30 weeks. This is only week 1. So because it's week 1, I'm going to hop into some predictions, some way too early predictions still until we get into that final last week of that football season getting ready to start. So I'll give you guys my official playoff predictions right now. We'll see if I shift things around when the season is about to start on that final week when I record that show. As of right now, it's August 2nd. So I'm going to give you guys my official playoff predictions and we'll start in the AFC. This division is so loaded, it's absolutely ridiculous. I look across the board, and there are legitimately 10 to 12 teams that I think have a shot at making the playoffs, and that's what is so crazy when I look across the AFC. I never thought that you would have the Patriots back in the conversation now. You have the Miami Dolphins back in the conversation. We didn't even talk about the Cincinnati Bengals who missed out on the playoffs last year. Jacksonville is going to be a lot better with Travis Hunter. Are the Raiders going to be a sleeper team with Pete Carroll at the helm now with Geno Smith, Ashton Genty? They've had a complete revitalization. Can Anthony Richardson turn things around in Indianapolis and try and get the Colts over the hump into the postseason for a while? This is a brutal bloodbath of a division. So let's see if you guys agree with me. At number 7, I have the Los Angeles Chargers. I think Justin Herbert, this team, they're going to take another step. If there's one thing that I know about Jim Harbaugh, it's that he contributes to winning with some of the best of them in all of football. I expect this receiving core to be better with some of the additions that they made. I think Quentin Johnston's going to take another step. I expect Trey Harris out of Ole Miss, the rookie wide receiver that they drafted, to help this team out offensively. And of course, Ladd McConkey was unbelievable last year, had over 1,000 yards in his rookie season. They're going to be better running the football as well. They drafted Omarion Hampton out of North Carolina. They signed Najee Harris. This is one of of the best offensive lines in football, and I think Justin Herbert's going to take another big time step as well. This is a brutal division that they're in with the Broncos, with the Chiefs, and now with the Raiders with Pete Carroll, but I have the Los Angeles Chargers winning 10 football games, making it in with our first spot in the wild card. At number 6, I have another AFC West team, and that will be the Denver Broncos. I think this team takes another step as well with Bo Nix and company. This is without a doubt the best defense in football. Last year, they were top 5 in nearly every single metric. They were unbelievable on defense. They were sacking the quarterback like crazy. They were taking the football away. They have the defensive player of the year in Pat Surtain II. This defense only got better though this offseason. They added Dre Greenlaw, one of the best off-ball linebackers in football from the San Francisco 49ers. They also drafted Jahdae Barron out of Texas, an elite corner that's really going to make the secondary even better. And this secondary, when I thought it couldn't even get better with Surtain, Jahdae Barron, Riley Moss, they added Talanoa Hufanga, former all-pro safety from the 49ers as well. What can this team be offensively with another year of Bo Nix, with Cortland Sutton? This team is going to be really fun to watch. I think they've approached this in the perfect way possible. It's always been in the AFC, the big time quarterbacks that are going to get it done. It's Mahomes, it's Josh Allen, it's Lamar Jackson, it's Joe Burrow, CJ Stroud, Justin Herbert, etc. This is the best defense in the NFL by far. I love the approach that Sean Payton has taken with this team. Give me the Broncos at number 6 here in the AFC. Grabbing the final wild card spot here, I have the Cincinnati Bengals bouncing back in a big time way. There were a lot of question marks defensively for this team, even up to this point. Trey Hendrickson still hasn't been signed, but they finally signed Shamar Stewart, their first round pick. There was a lot of controversy around getting him at practice. They didn't reach a deal with him. He was the last rookie to be signed, but they finally got that deal done with Shamar Stewart, who they drafted in the first round. And they don't have any really controversy in terms of contracts offensively. Jamar Chase got his money. T. Higgins got his money. Joe Burrow's healthy. It seems like this team is going to have the best offense in football. Joe Burrow, in my opinion, is going to win the MVP this year. I can't wait to see what this Cincinnati team does, but they know their identity is going to be kill teams offensively. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins light it up in that passing game, and you just need a few stops from the defense. That's really what it boils down to with this Cincinnati Bengals team. Can they get just a few stops here and there to try and give this team enough room for their offense to just smoke teams out? And that's exactly what I think they're going to do. I believe the Cincinnati Bengals get back to the postseason after a disappointing year last year. I have Cincinnati at number 5. Let's hop into our division winners here. At number 4, I have the AFC South winner, and that's going to be the Houston Texans. I think Houston is going to be really, really good this year. This is going to be one of the best defenses in the NFL, coached up by DeMeco Ryans. Will Anderson Jr. is going to take another step, and it wouldn't shock me at all if he won the Defensive Player of the Year. As a matter of fact, the former 3rd overall pick. I love what this defense has done. They added CJ Gardner-Johnson this offseason, re-signed Danielle Hunter. This secondary now takes another step that was really young with Derek Stingley, Kalen Bullock, Kamari Lassiter, and Jalen Petrie. I'm excited to see what CJ can do to coach these guys up. Offensively, the offensive line is so much better. They were atrocious last year. They were so banged up. I'm really, really excited to see what this offense can be now with CJ Stroud having time. This is going to be a fun unit to watch. I think the Texans can win 12 to 13 games next year, and I have them winning the AFC South. At the number 3 spot in the AFC, I have the Baltimore Ravens winning the AFC North. This is going to be a tough division. You have an upgraded division overall with the Bengals now figuring things out offensively. They're more cohesive. The defense is going to be a little bit better. You have the Steelers now with all of the additions that they made this offseason with Rodgers, Ramsey, signing TJ Watt. The Steelers are going to be a lot better. I also don't think that the Browns are going to be terrible. I think they start Joe Flacco, and I think that that's a competitive team that could shock some people with, potentially sniping a game or two here and there with that AFC North. But I have the Baltimore Ravens comfortably winning this division. I think Baltimore is going to be be on a mission to try and get back to the postseason. Lamar Jackson's going to have this vengeance in mind all season long. I love the addition of Jair Alexander to this secondary. I think this is going to be one of the most fun teams to watch in the league. Another year of Derrick Henry, the king, and Lamar Jackson. You can't go wrong. They also added DeAndre Hopkins. This Ravens team, in my opinion, can win 13, 14 games, and they will win the AFC North. At the number 2 spot, I'm going to have the Kansas City Chiefs. They win the AFC West again. I think that they're going to be on a mission as well. I think Patrick Mahomes, after losing in the Super Bowl, is going to be really scary, to be quite honest. He's going to be like on another level. I could see him winning the MVP this year. I think that this Chiefs team can get the number 1 overall seed. I think Buffalo's going to do it, and we'll talk about them here in a little bit. Kansas City, they are going to be dominant this year. This receiving core is so much better than it was last year. If you remember, Rashee Rice had that knee injury. He missed the second half of the entirety of the year. And then you had Xavier Worthy, who was a rookie, but had to take on a bigger load earlier on and had his best game in the Super Bowl. And then, of course, Hollywood Brown was injured for the entirety of the regular season and came back in the postseason. Now everybody's going to be back ready to go. Rashee Rice is going to have a 2 to 4 game suspension, but outside of that, everyone's going to be ready to go. This is going to be the last dance for Travis Kelce. This is still one of the best defenses in football. The offensive line has improved. They were really bad in the Super Bowl. This Chiefs team with number 15 and with Andy Reid, that's the best duo in football. I think that they're going to win the Super Bowl. I really do, and we'll talk about that more in future episodes as we continue to get ready for the football season. I am terrified of the Kansas City Chiefs. Nobody's talking about them. I've heard no buzz about them at all. I have Kansas City coming in at number 2. At number 1, I have the Buffalo Bills. I think this is going to be a team that wins a lot of football games this year. I like the way their schedule looks. I love the way that Josh Allen played last year. Of course, he won the MVP. This defense has improved. I think Buffalo is going to have a tremendous season. I'm excited to see what Josh Allen can do. He's just been a guy that has been unbelievable. You look at his postseason stats over the last few years. I know everybody loves to throw that into the conversation like, oh, well, why is Josh Allen not getting it done when it matters the most in the postseason? Have you ever thought that he's going up against some of the best quarterbacks that we've seen? Patrick Mahomes is going to be like a Tom Brady in a sense where no other quarterbacks eat on his watch. Look at Josh Allen's stats in the postseason. He's been one of the best quarterbacks in the postseason that we've seen ever. He's been that good, but the team around him has let him down more than just Josh Allen not winning in the big moments. So I really dislike that narrative, but I think Josh Allen and this Buffalo Bills team grab the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. And that's going to be big because you do not want the road to the Lombardi Trophy to be through the Kansas City Chiefs and through Arrowhead. That is not going to be a fun path for anybody. Buffalo needs to get that home field advantage if they want to try and knock off the big bad wolves that is the Kansas City Chiefs. Give me Buffalo to take the AFC. Let's hop over to the NFC here. This is also a conference that I'm really excited to watch this year. The storylines that we're going to see. Of course, Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders shocked everybody last year, going on this improbable run, making it to the NFC Championship, being really competitive, quite frankly, with the Philadelphia Eagles. And of course, the Eagles had this dominant run to winning the Super Bowl. But Washington was awesome last year. You now have JJ McCarthy stepping in for the Minnesota Vikings, who won 14 games. What is that going to look like? Devontae Adams now with the Los Angeles Rams. Can they take another step? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are, in my opinion, in store for a super dominant offensive season. Michael Penix Jr. is back in the mix. Can the Dallas Cowboys be more competitive with George Pickens? What do the San Francisco 49ers look like now that they're finally healthy? Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, and the Chicago Bears. Can this team shock everybody, make it to the postseason, and have a huge turnaround? So many awesome storylines in the NFC, but only 7 can make it into the playoffs. Let's get right into it. At number 7, I have the Minnesota Vikings with JJ McCarthy, Kevin O'Connell, Justin Jefferson, you name it. This is going to be a tremendous offense. I'm expecting JJ McCarthy to have a really solid year, quite frankly. I know everybody's like, well, you could stick any quarterback in there and they're going to be really productive. And I think that does have some truth to it. Like, I'll give Kevin O'Connell all the credit in the world, give him his flowers. He is a top I don't know, 3 to 5 head coach in the NFL. He is simply that good. The fact that they won 14 games last year, look at what he's done with some of those quarterbacks. I mean, Sam Darnold had a tremendous year last year, and I think a large part of that is due to Kevin O'Connell and what his scheme truly means to players. I'm excited for what J.J. McCarthy can do. KOC handpicked him in the draft 2 years ago. We understand that he had that knee injury in the preseason, so we didn't get to see him at all last year. I believe that J.J. McCarthy and this Vikings offense are going to gel very, very well. Give me the Vikings to sneak in here in a just brutal NFC conference. At the number 6 spot, I have the Washington Commanders. I understand that they got a lot better this offseason, and I do think they're going to be a lot better. Jaden Daniels takes another step. This offensive line has improved. They added Deebo Samuel. I think Philadelphia is going to be really tough to win more games than this year. What they won the Super Bowl last year, dominant run. We'll talk about them later on. I know I just spoiled it. They'll win the NFC East. But I think that Washington is going to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender. This is a team that even though they didn't win the division, they can still make it to the Super Bowl. They can win the Super Bowl. They've gotten that out of the way now, that original season. They've done a great job this offseason. And I've talked about it like, hey, once you find out that that quarterback is your guy, you understand that that's your franchise guy, you can go ahead and wipe the sweat off your forehead because you've nailed it with the franchise quarterback pick. And for Washington, they've done so maybe in the biggest way of all time, with Jaden Daniels having the best rookie season that we've ever seen. But once you can wipe that sweat off your forehead, go all in to try and win that Super Bowl. Go get Deebo Samuel, bulk up this offensive line. And that's exactly what they did. I think Washington did a tremendous job of really building around Jaden Daniels to see what he can do. They also can get Terry McLaurin back. I know that he just requested this trade. I don't think that he's going to leave. They need Terry McLaurin, but they'll get that done, in my opinion. I think Washington comes in at number 6 here. At number 5, a team that I want to say can be the favorite to win this NFC conference. I am so high on them, and you're going to hear me talk about them a lot this year, and you heard me talk about them in California Love. I believe the Los Angeles Rams are going to come in at number 5 here. I don't know if they're going to win this division just because of the team that I'm going to talk about in a little bit here has the easiest schedule in football, but I think the Rams are going to come dangerously close. It's going to be a situation last year where the Vikings won 14 games and had the 5 seed, where I could see the Rams winning 13 games and also having the 5 seed this year in a similar situation to that. But I talked about them in California Love. I won't go too much into it. Great offense. I love the addition of Devontae Adams. Another year, another step for this defense. Give me the Rams here at number 5, closing out that wild card spot. Let's get into our division winners here in the NFC South, a team that I am so excited about. I believe that they can have the best offense in football, led by Baker Mayfield. They have added Emeka Egbuka in the draft. You know who I'm talking about. That is none other than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, running it back, winning this division for not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 times in a row. Absolute dominance here from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They won the division for the 5th year in a row, led by Baker Mayfield and company. I love this offense. You have a dynamic 1-2 punch with Bucky Irving and Rachaad White. You have probably the deepest receiving core in football and one of the best 1-3 punch that you have with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, now healthy, who took that pay cut, and now Emeka Egbuka, and you've got some great guys in terms of depth in that receiving core. You got a great tight end in Cade Otton, a tremendous offensive line. This offense has the tools and has the power to be the best in football this year. I'm really excited to see what the Buccaneers can do. I don't think they're going to get bounced in the first round. This is a team that's capable of winning multiple games, getting on a run, and shoot, I think they can make it to the Super Bowl if they get hot at the right time. Love the thought of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year. Let's hop into the winner of the NFC North. This division is just unreal. I mean, it is so brutal. It's so unbelievable. I can't even get over it. I mean, the Packers, Washington, Detroit. Detroit won 15 games last year. Minnesota won 14 games. Green Bay won 11 games, and they were the 7 seed. That's just ridiculous. And then you have Chicago with Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, this whole turnaround. It's really tough because I know I'm leaving out some good teams. I have the Detroit Lions winning this division. I do. I have them winning this division, even though they lose both of their coordinators in Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. I still believe in this team. I still believe in Dan Campbell. They were so banged up last year defensively and won 15 games. Maybe they drop a few here and there, but this team will still be in the playoffs regardless. I think they're going to win 12 to 13 games. Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, this offense is going to be special. Again, I think Jahmyr Gibbs could emerge as the best running back in football, maybe right behind Saquon Barkley. And I hate to say it, I don't have the Packers making the playoffs as of right now. And I hope that I can convince myself to change my mind and go otherwise, because I've been talking about how all offseason that I believe that Jordan Love is a dark horse MVP candidate. I'm disappointed in myself too, but Jordan Love and the Packers, I don't know if they're making the playoffs right now. It's that competitive in the NFC, but I have the Detroit Football Lions claiming the NFC North. Let's hop into the top two here. Of course, we have the reigning, defending Super Bowl champions in the Philadelphia Eagles. They're running it back in the NFC East. We haven't seen that in a long, long time, but the Eagles break that streak and win the division for a second year in a row. I think that people in the media and fans have really screwed up. I think that they've really screwed up by giving this team so much motivation and so much to guide them into this upcoming year. And it's a thing that is going to drive them and motivate them to potentially winning another Super Bowl, in my opinion. I mean, they're so deep. They have so much talent defensively. I can't get over how well they just continue to draft. Like, they had so many rookies on this team last year that contributed so much. Quinyon Mitchell, you have Cooper DeJean. This defense is young. It's awesome. That you lose Brandon Graham, it's fine because you've got so many young defensive linemen. And then offensively, maybe the best offensive line in football, the best running back in football, a top 3 wide receiving core in football, and a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. I mean, this Eagles team can come at you in every single way. They're so hard to beat. I have them winning the NFC East. I have them grabbing the number 2 seed in the NFC. And I would say, ladies and gentlemen, that this is probably my hottest take of the entire NFL season. I am so high on this team this year. People are going to call me crazy, and I hope you don't switch off the show after this take. The San Francisco 49ers are all the way back, and they are going to have the number 1 seed in the NFC. Listen, they were so injured last year. We saw it at a historic rate. Brandon Ayuk tears his ACL. Ricky Pearsall gets shot in the chest. Deebo Samuel misses time. Kittle misses time. Trent Williams misses time. Christian McCaffrey misses nearly the entirety of the season. Brock Purdy was a little banged up. This team was injured everywhere, not to mention how banged up they were defensively. And I know they lost a lot of guys. This is a new defense. This is a newer defense. I trust what this team can do draft-wise. I think that offensively, they're going to be a lot better. We're all forgetting how great of a quarterback that Brock Purdy is, in my opinion. I think he's top 10 in the NFL. You now have Christian McCaffrey, who's finally healthy. Brandon Ayuk's healthy. Juwan Jennings is an awesome receiver. He's awesome. Ricky Pearsall, I really think, started to play some good football in the back half of that year. Kittle's back. You still got Trent Williams on this offensive line. I think that O-line, if they're a little bit better, which I expect them to be, this can be one of the best offenses in football. And the reason I think they win 14 games is because this is a ridiculously easy schedule. I know it's hard to kind of predict and mock how each team is going to be, because obviously teams are going to take step forwards and teams are going to take steps backward. But I think the 49ers are going to be awesome this year. I really do. I'm really high on this team. It's going to start with McCaffrey. It's going to start with Ayuk. It's going to start with Kittle. It's going to start with all those guys being back. And Brock Purdy's got his weapons now. This defense is going to be better. It's going to be better. They couldn't stop the run to save their lives last year, and they were just so injured. I believe in the 49ers. I believe in this team's ability to draft, and I think the Niners are going to be all the way back. They win 14 games, and they claim the number 1 seed in the NFC. I can't wait for football, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, the amount of storylines, the amount of narratives, the players that have got to get it done, the teams and coaches on the hot seat. I mean, I can't wait. 33 days, it seems like that can't come soon enough. You got fantasy football, mock drafts that are going to get you through it a little bit as well. You've got some videos and some things that you're going to see on the internet and social media that will get you through it as well. And I hope that Caden Kubler Sports Radio can be a great crutch to try and help get you closer and get you fired up for this NFL season. I bring so much content for you guys, not only in this hour, but on my YouTube channel at Caden's Corner, that I am firing videos out daily on. So if you guys want even bigger and better breakdowns on each team's individually, make sure you guys check that out. We're going to have a ton of college football content coming for you guys very, very shortly, but football's close. I can't wait. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for tuning into Caden Kubler Sports Radio on KCAA 1050 AM and 106.5 FM. I'm your host, Caden Kubler. It feels so good to be back, and I cannot wait for weekends with nonstop football. If you want to listen to me every single day, you can find me on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram at Caden's Corner. That's CAYDENS Corner, where I talk about the hottest topics in sports. Want to keep up with the old head and newcomer? Find us on YouTube at Old Head Newcomer. I can't thank you guys enough for listening to the show, however you do. From Caden Kubler and Caden Kubler Sports Radio, you know where to find me at the same time and place next week. See you guys.